Have you ever met someone who made your world tilt, just slightly, just enough to notice, and yet, instead of feeling complete, you felt confused, like they arrived too soon or too late? Maybe your career wasn't stable, your past wasn't healed, or your heart wasn't ready to let them in. And suddenly, instead of gratitude for their presence, you feel resistance. Why does the right person sometimes feel so wrong? Here's the curveball. It's not them. It's the timing. Or at least, that's what you tell yourself. But what if timing isn't the enemy? What if love is meant to show up exactly when it does, not to fit into the tidy corners of your life, but to break through them? The Stoics believed that the universe operates with precision, even when it feels chaotic to us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In love, this means the obstacles you feel, the hesitation, the uncertainty, aren't roadblocks but signposts. The discomfort of meeting someone at the wrong time might be life inviting you to grow. Think about it. The right person forces you to confront your fears, break your routines, and question your excuses. They don't arrive in perfection, but in challenge. And sometimes that challenge feels wrong simply because it demands more of you than you're ready to give. But maybe, just maybe, the timing isn't wrong at all. Maybe it's the universe whispering, it's time to become the version of you who can love fully, even in chaos. So, what if the wrongness you feel is just the weight of transformation pressing on your heart? Would you let it in? Timing is never perfect, but it's always right. Let's face it, life has an uncanny way of throwing love at us when we least expect it, or worse, when we feel utterly unprepared. Maybe you're knee-deep in career ambitions, struggling with unresolved baggage, or just getting comfortable in your own solitude. Then, suddenly, someone walks in, and instead of feeling like the universe got it right, you're convinced it got it all wrong. It's easy to think, if only this person had come later, when I was ready. But let me ask you this, when is anyone ever truly ready for love? The Stoics would argue that waiting for readiness is a trap. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This applies to love as much as it does to life's challenges. You don't control when someone enters your story, you only control how you respond. Timing, whether it feels ideal or not, is neutral. It's what you make of it that defines whether it's right or wrong. Think about it. The very moments you think are too messy for love, your periods of growth, struggle, or self-discovery, are the moments that prepare you for it. You're not supposed to have everything figured out before love arrives. In fact, love often shows up to help you figure things out. That's why it feels uncomfortable. It's like starting a new workout after months of neglect. The ache isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof you're engaging muscles that haven't been used. We also carry this romanticized idea that timing should be convenient. We want love to fit neatly into our schedules and align perfectly with our goals. But life doesn't operate like a planner app. Seneca reminds us, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The arrival of someone significant isn't about luck or bad timing. It's an opportunity to evolve, even if it's messy. Take a moment to reflect. When you push someone away because the timing feels off, are you protecting your peace, or are you running from growth? We often confuse discomfort with a lack of readiness. The truth is, discomfort is how readiness feels in real time. It's the push we need to stretch beyond our current limitations. Love isn't about perfect timing. It's about being brave enough to meet it halfway, no matter how messy, chaotic, or inconvenient it feels. The right person challenges, not completes you. When we dream of love, we often imagine someone who will feel like a missing puzzle piece, seamlessly fitting into our lives, making everything easy, comfortable, and whole. It's a beautiful fantasy, but reality is far more nuanced. The truth is, the right person doesn't complete you. They challenge you. They disrupt your complacency, test your boundaries, and sometimes make you question everything you thought you knew about yourself. And that's not a flaw in the relationship. It's the essence of it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor strengthens the body." In relationships, these difficulties often take the form of hard conversations, clashing perspectives, or moments of vulnerability that feel like emotional freefall. At first, it can seem like the wrong person is standing in front of you because it's so uncomfortable. But what if that discomfort is the point? The right person doesn't just see you for who you are, they see who you're capable of becoming. And they push you, often unintentionally, toward that version of yourself. Consider this. If someone fits too perfectly into your life, where's the space for growth? Where's the room for expansion? Love isn't a soft landing, it's a call to action. It's meant to sharpen your edges, not smooth them away. The Stoics believed that growth and adversity are inseparable. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Likewise, a meaningful connection isn't born from avoiding challenges, but from facing them together. At times, being with the right person can feel like they're pulling threads from the seams of your life. They might question your habits, disrupt your routines, or challenge your long-held beliefs. And that's where most of us falter. We mistake their challenge as a sign that they're wrong for us. After all, shouldn't love feel natural? But here's the thing. Natural doesn't always mean easy. Growth is never effortless. And love, true, transformative love, demands growth. Let's break this down. Imagine you're someone who struggles with vulnerability. You've built walls around yourself to avoid being hurt, and they've kept you safe. Then you meet someone who wants to climb those walls, not to break you, but to meet the real you behind them. At first, it feels invasive. Your instinct might be to push them away, to protect yourself. But what if their persistence isn't a threat, but an invitation? An invitation to break the patterns that have kept you from truly connecting with anyone, including yourself. The right person doesn't make life easier. They make it richer. They don't complete you, they expand you. And that's the kind of love worth fighting for. Love reveals your truest self, even the parts you hide. When you fall in love, something remarkable happens. It's not just about the butterflies or the excitement of discovering someone new. It's about discovering yourself in ways you never expected. Love has a way of peeling back the layers, revealing parts of you that even you might not have fully understood or acknowledged. And let's be honest, some of those parts aren't always pretty. But here's the catch. It's in those moments of raw, unfiltered truth that love truly begins to work its magic. The Stoics had a word for this kind of self-revelation, prohairesis, or the ability to examine and align your inner choices with your deeper values. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In love, this means you can't hide behind your idealized version of yourself. You're forced to confront the reality of who you are, the good, the bad, and the deeply human. The right person doesn't let you bury these truths. Instead, they bring them to light, often without even trying. Think about the last time you felt vulnerable in love. Maybe it was the first time you shared something deeply personal, or when a fight left you feeling exposed and raw. Those moments might have made you uncomfortable, but they also taught you something important about yourself, your fears, your insecurities, your capacity for forgiveness. Love doesn't just show you who someone else is, it reflects back who you are. Now, here's where it gets tricky. For many of us, the parts of ourselves we hide aren't just flaws, they're survival mechanisms. Maybe you avoid conflict because you grew up in a volatile home, or you have a hard time trusting because of past betrayals. Love doesn't let you stay in those patterns. It challenges you to question them. Why are you afraid to express your needs? Why do you push people away when they get too close? These questions aren't comfortable, but they're necessary. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Love, by its nature, is a form of adversity. It asks you to step into the arena, to risk being seen fully, flaws and all, and it's terrifying, but it's also freeing. When someone loves the version of you that isn't curated or perfected, it gives you permission to love that version of yourself too. But let's be real, this process isn't always smooth. The parts of yourself that love brings to the surface might initially make you want to retreat. You might feel exposed, even defensive, and that's okay. Growth isn't linear, and self-discovery takes time. The key is to resist the urge to run, stay, sit with the discomfort. Ask yourself what it's trying to teach you. The beauty of love isn't that it makes you feel perfect. It's that it makes you feel real. And in that realness, in that raw, unfiltered version of you, lies the truest kind of freedom. Love demands presence, not perfection. One of the biggest misconceptions about love is the idea that you need to be perfect to deserve it. You might think, if I just fix this part of myself, then I'll be ready. But the truth, love doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for presence. It requires you to show up, flaws and all, fully engaged in the messy, unpredictable reality of sharing your life with another person. The Stoics believed deeply in the power of the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." In relationships, this means letting go of the constant pressure to be flawless or to wait until circumstances are ideal before giving yourself fully. Love doesn't thrive in hypotheticals. It thrives in the here and now, in the small, imperfect moments where connection happens. Think about it. The moments when love feels most alive aren't the grand gestures or the perfectly planned dates. They're in the unscripted laughter over a spilled drink, the vulnerability of a late-night conversation, or the quiet comfort of sitting together without needing to say anything. These moments don't require you to be perfect. They require you to be present, to tune in to what's happening right now, instead of worrying about what could go wrong or whether you're doing it right. Yet, so many of us sabotage love by chasing perfection. We think we need to look a certain way, act a certain way, or achieve certain milestones before we can be worthy of connection. But perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target you can never fully reach, and while you're busy chasing it, you miss the beauty of what's already in front of you. Consider the words of Seneca. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. In love, this means letting go of the need to control every outcome or predict the future. It's about embracing the moment for what it is, not what you think it should be. It's about showing up even when you feel uncertain, even when you're afraid of making mistakes. Because love isn't about being flawless. It's about being real. This doesn't mean you shouldn't strive to grow or improve, but there's a difference between growth and perfectionism. Growth is about becoming a better version of yourself for the sake of connection, while perfectionism is about hiding your flaws out of fear of rejection. Love flourishes in growth but withers under perfectionism. The more you chase an idealized version of yourself, the more you distance yourself from the authenticity that love requires. So how do you embrace presence in love? First, practice mindfulness. When you're with someone, truly be with them. Put down your phone, Quiet your mental to-do list and focus on what's happening right in front of you. Second, embrace vulnerability. Instead of hiding your imperfections, lean into them. Share your fears, your mistakes, and your insecurities. It's in those moments of honesty that true connection is built. Lastly, let go of the need to control. Trust that love isn't about having all the answers. It's about figuring things out together, one imperfect step at a time. The beauty of love lies in its imperfection. It doesn't require you to have it all together. It just asks you to show up, fully present, ready to embrace the messiness of being human with another person. And in that presence, you'll find something far more powerful than perfection. You'll find connection. Love teaches you the art of patience. In a world where everything moves fast, text replies, streaming services, next-day delivery, it's no wonder we expect love to follow the same rhythm. We crave instant understanding, quick resolutions, and fast-forwarded happy endings. But love doesn't work like that. It moves at its own pace, often slower than we'd like, teaching us one of life's most valuable and underrated skills: patience. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen and a violent stream, for as soon as a thing has been seen it is carried away and another comes in its place." Love, like life, flows in its own time. Rushing it is as futile as trying to redirect a river. When you push love to move faster, you risk missing the beauty of its natural unfolding. The trust that builds slowly, the understanding that deepens with time, the connection that grows stronger through shared moments. Patience in love isn't just about waiting for someone to meet your expectations or resolve an issue. It's about embracing the process. Think about it. Every great relationship, whether it's a romantic partnership, a friendship, or even a family bond, is built over time, not overnight. It's in the small, incremental steps where love finds its foundation, learning each other's quirks, building trust through consistency, and navigating challenges without jumping to conclusions or giving up. But here's the hard part. Patience isn't passive. It doesn't mean sitting back and letting things happen without effort. Patience is active. It's choosing to stay present and engaged, even when things aren't moving as quickly as you'd like. It's holding space for someone else's growth, knowing that love isn't about instant gratification, but about cultivating something deeper and more meaningful. Seneca said, "How much better to pursue a straight course and attain a quiet mind." In love, that straight course often means letting go of the need to force things. You can't rush someone's healing, make them open up faster, or accelerate the natural evolution of your relationship. The quiet mind Seneca refers to comes when you stop fighting time and start flowing with it, when you allow love to take its course without trying to control the speed or the outcome. Patience in love isn't easy, especially in a world that glorifies instant results. But it's through patience that love reveals its true depth and resilience. It teaches you to slow down, to let go of urgency, and to find peace in the steady, gentle rhythm of two hearts growing together. And that kind of love? It's always worth the wait. Love teaches you to let go of ego. If there's one thing love does better than anything else, it's humbling us. At its core, love isn't about being right, proving a point, or protecting our pride. It's about connection, empathy, and mutual growth, all of which require us to loosen the grip of our egos. But letting go of ego in love isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, because ego thrives on control, superiority, and the illusion of invulnerability. Love, on the other hand, thrives on surrender, humility, and openness. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In love, This often plays out in moments of conflict. How many times have you held on to resentment because it felt like winning the argument? How often have you refused to apologize, even when you knew you were wrong, because admitting it felt like losing? The ego tricks us into believing that these moments of defiance protect us, but in reality they build walls that keep love at a distance. Letting go of ego means choosing the relationship over the need to be right. It means asking yourself, what's more important, my pride or our connection? Love requires you to step into vulnerability, to admit when you're wrong, and to seek understanding rather than victory. And yes, it's hard. Ego loves to whisper that vulnerability is weakness, but the truth is, there's nothing stronger than being honest, even when it scares you. Letting go of ego doesn't mean losing yourself. It means discovering a deeper, more authentic version of you. One that prioritizes love over fear, connection over control, and humility over pride. And when you do that, you make space for a love that's not only stronger, but freer, one that thrives not on dominance, but on genuine human connection. Love shows you the strength in forgiveness. If there's one lesson love will inevitably teach, it's forgiveness. Not the kind you say casually to brush things under the rug, but the deep, difficult, transformative kind that requires you to face your pain and let go of it. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things to practice in love, because it asks you to surrender your anger, your pride, and often your sense of justice. It requires you to see the humanity in someone who hurt you, to recognize their flaws alongside your own, and to choose connection over resentment. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "It is a great man who can treat his enemy like a friend." While love isn't about treating your partner as an enemy, it often feels that way when emotions run high. In the heat of an argument, or in the aftermath of a betrayal, your mind might scream for retribution or distance, but forgiveness isn't about excusing the hurt or forgetting it happened. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of anger and creating a path toward healing for both of you. Think about how often pride and ego make forgiveness harder than it needs to be. You might hold on to grudges because they give you a sense of power, or because letting go feels like losing. But the truth is, refusing to forgive doesn't protect you, it traps you. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of pain, replaying the same hurt over and over in your mind. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is an act of liberation. It's not a sign of weakness, but of incredible strength. It says, I choose to rise above this pain, for myself and for us. Love, at its core, is an act of courage. It asks you to face pain head-on, to open your heart again even when it's been hurt. Forgiveness is the bridge that allows love to continue growing after it's been tested. It doesn't erase the past, but it clears the way for a future built on trust, empathy, and understanding. And that kind of love, it's worth every bit of the effort. Love teaches you to embrace impermanence. One of the hardest truths about love and life is that nothing lasts forever. Every relationship, no matter how deep or passionate, is shaped by the inevitability of change. People grow, circumstances shift, and sometimes love itself fades or transforms into something unrecognizable. While this impermanence can feel devastating, it also holds a powerful lesson. To truly love, you must embrace the fleeting nature of everything. Only by accepting that love is temporary can you fully appreciate its beauty in the moment. The Stoics were masters of confronting impermanence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This reminder of life's fragility isn't meant to create fear. It's meant to inspire presence. In love, this means cherishing the now rather than clinging to the future or mourning the past. Every moment you share with someone is a gift, not a guarantee. And while that can feel unsettling, it also makes those moments infinitely more valuable. Think about it. If you knew a flower would bloom only for a single day, wouldn't you stop to marvel at its beauty instead of lamenting its briefness? Love is no different. When you accept its impermanence, you free yourself from the fear of loss. You stop trying to control what you can't and start showing up fully, savoring each shared laugh, touch and conversation as though it were irreplaceable, because it is. But let's be real. Embracing impermanence isn't easy. The very nature of love makes us want to hold on. You fall for someone, and suddenly, forever feels like the only acceptable outcome. The idea of losing them feels unbearable, so you cling tighter, trying to keep everything exactly as it is. But love isn't static. It's alive, fluid, and constantly evolving. And when you resist its natural flow, you create tension, fear, and ironically, the very disconnection you're trying to avoid. Embracing impermanence doesn't mean you love less. It means you love with your whole heart, knowing that nothing is promised. It's about finding freedom in the fleeting, appreciating the beauty of what is, and letting go of what might have been. Love, in its impermanence, teaches us to live fully, with open hearts and a deep respect for the now. And in that acceptance, we find the most enduring kind of connection. Love requires you to love yourself first. We hear it all the time, you can't pour from an empty cup. But when it comes to love, so many of us try to do just that. We give and give, hoping someone else's validation will make us feel whole. We bend ourselves to meet their needs, believing that if we can just be enough for them, we'll finally feel worthy. And yet the truth is simple. No one can fill the gaps you refuse to fill yourself. Love, at its healthiest and most transformative, starts within you. If you don't love yourself first, no amount of external love will ever feel like enough. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." This is the foundation of self-love, knowing yourself, accepting yourself, and building a life that aligns with your values and aspirations. In relationships, this means showing up as a whole person, not someone who needs fixing, saving, or completing. It's not about being perfect. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to someone else's opinion of you. When you love yourself, you create a foundation of security and confidence that allows love to flourish rather than falter under the weight of insecurity. Self-love isn't selfish. In fact, it's one of the most selfless things you can do in a relationship. When you love yourself, you stop demanding that your partner meet impossible standards. You don't expect them to complete you or make you happy. Instead, you see them as a companion in life, someone to share joy with, rather than someone to blame for your unhappiness. Loving yourself means taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being, which frees your partner to do the same. Together, you build a relationship rooted in mutual respect and support, not dependency or neediness. When you love yourself first, you enter relationships from a place of abundance, not lack. You're no longer looking for someone to fix you, complete you, or save you. You're looking for a partner to share the incredible life you're already building with yourself. And that kind of love, it's unstoppable. Love teaches you to let go when it's time. One of the most difficult lessons love will teach you is that sometimes letting go is the most loving thing you can do. Whether it's a relationship that has run its course, an unrequited love that keeps you stuck, or a connection that no longer serves your growth, love asks you to recognize when holding on is causing more harm than good. Letting go isn't a sign of failure. It's an act of grace, both for yourself and the other person. It's choosing to honor what was while making space for what could be. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well. This is the essence of letting go, accepting reality as it is, not as you want it to be. It's natural to cling to the familiar, to fight for what you once had, or to hope that things will return to how they were. But love, like life, is ever-changing. Sometimes the best way to honor a connection is to release it, trusting that both of you will grow in ways you couldn't if you stayed. Letting go doesn't mean erasing the memories or invalidating the love you shared. It means accepting that love isn't always enough to overcome differences, misalignments, or personal growth that pulls you in separate directions. Love isn't meant to be a prison. It's meant to be a force that uplifts and liberates. When staying in a relationship starts to feel like a struggle against yourself, your values, your peace, your sense of self, it's a sign to reevaluate. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't love deeply. It means you're choosing to love wisely. But let's be honest, letting go hurts. It's grieving the future you imagined, the comfort of their presence, and the identity you built with them. It's tempting to cling, to hold on to even the smallest thread of hope. Yet, as Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. By releasing what no longer fits, you open yourself to new possibilities. You free your heart to heal, to grow, and eventually to love again. Love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes its greatest lesson is knowing when to let go, with grace, with gratitude, and with the faith that even endings are part of the journey. When you let go, you honor not just the love you had, but the person you're becoming. And that kind of love, the kind that frees you, is the most powerful love of all. Love is about giving without keeping score. In love, it's easy to fall into the trap of tallying what you give versus what you receive. You might find yourself thinking, "I've done so much for them. Why aren't they doing the same for me?" Or, "I always go out of my way. Why don't they notice?" While it's natural to want fairness in a relationship, true love isn't transactional. It doesn't keep score, and it doesn't operate on a system of debts and repayments. Love, at its most authentic, is about giving freely without expectations, simply because it feels right. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, "We should give as we would receive, cheerfully, quickly, and without hesitation. For there is no grace in a benefit that sticks to the fingers." In love, this means that what you give should come from a genuine place, not from a need to control, manipulate, or obligate the other person. Love asks you to give your time, effort, and affection as acts of kindness, not as investments expecting a guaranteed return. Think about a time when you did something selfless for someone you cared about. Maybe it was a small gesture, like making them their favorite meal after a hard day, or a bigger sacrifice, like rearranging your plans to support them. The joy of those moments didn't come from expecting something in return. It came from seeing them smile, knowing you made their day a little brighter. That's the essence of love, finding fulfillment in the act of giving itself. Of course, this doesn't mean you should tolerate imbalance or neglect in your relationship. Love is a two-way street, and both people should contribute to its growth. But giving in love isn't about keeping a ledger. It's not about thinking, "I gave you this, so now you owe me that." It's about trusting that a healthy relationship will naturally find its equilibrium. When you focus too much on fairness, you risk turning love into a negotiation, stripping it of its magic and spontaneity. Love isn't about keeping score. It's about creating a space where both people feel free to give, receive, and grow. When you let go of tallying who did what, you open your heart to the true essence of love, a selfless, boundless connection that thrives not on what you get, but on what you share. Love is a reflection of your inner world. One of the most profound lessons love can teach you is that the quality of your relationships often mirrors the relationship you have with yourself. Love acts like a reflection, showing you not only your joys and strengths, but also your fears, insecurities, and unresolved wounds. This is both its beauty and its challenge. While love can bring immense happiness, it can also confront you with parts of yourself you'd rather not see. And yet, it's through this reflection that love helps you grow if you're willing to do the inner work. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In relationships, this means that your inner world, your beliefs, your patterns, your self-perception, shapes the way you love and how you are loved in return. If you approach love from a place of insecurity, you might find yourself seeking constant validation, misinterpreting your partner's actions, or struggling to trust. If you carry unhealed wounds, those wounds may show up in the form of jealousy, fear, or defensiveness. Conversely, if you nurture self-love and inner peace, you bring a foundation of stability and openness into your relationship. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how the same issue can arise in different relationships? Maybe you always feel like you're giving more than you're receiving, or you find yourself repeatedly pushing people away when they get too close. These patterns aren't random, they're clues about what's happening inside you. Love holds up a mirror, inviting you to examine your own habits, beliefs, and emotional needs. It's not about blaming yourself, but about recognizing that your inner world plays a role in shaping your experience of love. This reflection is both humbling and empowering. It's humbling because it shows you that love isn't just about finding the right person. It's also about being the right person for yourself. It's empowering because it means you have the ability to change your relationship patterns by doing the inner work. As Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them." In love, this means that your reactions often stem more from your internal state than from your partner's actions. Love isn't just about what someone else gives you, it's about what it reveals in you. By using love as a mirror, you not only deepen your connection with others, but also with yourself. And when you nurture that inner relationship, you create a foundation for a love that's not just reflective, but transformative. Love is the courage to be vulnerable. If love asks anything of you, it's to take off the armor you've spent years building and let someone see you as you truly are. Vulnerability is the heart of love, its starting point, its bridge, its foundation. But let's be honest, being vulnerable is terrifying. It feels like stepping onto a stage without a script, exposing the rawest, most tender parts of yourself, unsure if you'll be embraced or rejected. And yet love cannot exist without vulnerability. It is the courage to be seen, to be known, and to offer yourself without guarantees. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." This applies to love in a profound way. The difficulty of vulnerability often lies not in the act itself, but in our fear of it. We hesitate to open up because we fear being judged, hurt, or left behind. But love, at its core, is an act of daring. It's choosing to share your truth, even when it feels risky, because the connection it creates is worth the uncertainty. Think about a time when you let someone see the real you. Maybe you shared a fear you'd never spoken aloud, admitted a mistake, or simply let your guard down enough to cry in front of them. In that moment, you may have felt exposed, but you also likely felt a deep sense of relief. That's the paradox of vulnerability. It feels like weakness, but it's actually the greatest strength you can bring to love. It's the doorway to intimacy, trust, and understanding, the very things that make a relationship meaningful. Love without vulnerability is like a flower without roots. It might look good for a while, but it won't last. The courage to be vulnerable is what makes love real, raw, and transformative. It's what turns ordinary moments into profound connections, and it's what allows you to experience love in its truest, most beautiful form. Love teaches you the power of consistency. Love, for all its romance and passion, isn't built on grand gestures or fleeting highs. It's built on consistency. The small, everyday actions that show you care, the steady commitment to showing up, even when it's hard, these are the things that sustain love over time. But consistency often gets overlooked because it doesn't feel dramatic or exciting. Yet it's the quiet, unwavering foundation upon which meaningful relationships are built. Love without consistency is like a spark without fuel. It might light up for a moment, but it won't last. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In relationships, this means aligning your actions with your intentions. It's easy to say "I love you," but far harder to show it day in and day out, especially when life gets messy. Consistency is the bridge between your words and your partner's trust. It's the thing that reassures them that your love isn't just a fleeting emotion, but a commitment you honor through your actions. Think about what consistency looks like in love. It's not about being perfect. It's about being reliable. It's sending a quick text to check in when you're busy, keeping the promises you make, and choosing to work through conflicts instead of walking away. It's the little rituals, like sharing a cup of coffee in the morning or saying goodnight every evening, that create a sense of security and connection. Over time, these small actions add up, creating a relationship that feels solid and trustworthy. But consistency isn't always easy. Life is full of distractions, and it's tempting to let the demands of work, stress, or routine pull you away from the effort love requires. Some days, showing up for your partner might feel like one more thing on a long to-do list. On others, unresolved conflicts or personal struggles might make it tempting to withdraw. But love asks you to choose presence, even when it's inconvenient. It asks you to show up, not just when it feels good, but when it feels hard. Love doesn't need grand displays to thrive. It needs presence, reliability, and a steady commitment to choosing each other day after day. Consistency is what turns love into something real, something lasting. And in the end, it's the quiet, everyday acts of care that speak the loudest. Love flourishes in mutual respect. At its core, love is about respect, not just affection or attraction, but a deep, abiding respect for the person you're with. It's seeing them as your equal, valuing their thoughts and feelings, and honoring their individuality. Without respect, love becomes a shallow reflection of what it could be, easily eroded by misunderstandings, resentment, or control. But when respect is present, love flourishes. It creates a foundation of trust, safety, and admiration that can withstand the inevitable challenges of life. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." This wisdom applies to love in a profound way. It's a reminder to honor your own values and principles while also respecting your partners, even when they differ. Respect in love isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about creating space for both people to exist fully as they are, without judgment or domination. Think about how respect shows up in a healthy relationship. It's in the way you listen, not just hearing words, but truly understanding the feelings behind them. It's in the way you communicate, choosing kindness and honesty even during disagreements. It's in how you support each other's dreams, celebrating successes, and offering encouragement through failures. Respect means treating your partner not as an extension of yourself, but as their own person, with their own thoughts, goals, and boundaries. But respect isn't always easy, especially in moments of conflict. When emotions run high, it's tempting to resort to defensiveness, blame, or even contempt. These reactions may feel justified in the moment, but they erode respect over time, creating a rift in the relationship. Respect asks you to rise above these impulses. It's choosing to address issues with curiosity rather than accusation, seeking to understand rather than to win. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." In love, this means taking a step back before reacting in ways that might harm your partner or the relationship. Respect often requires restraint, not suppressing your emotions, but expressing them in a way that honors both yourself and the other person. It's saying, "I'm upset, but I value you too much to let this disagreement define how I treat you." Respect isn't just the glue that holds love together, it's the spark that keeps it alive. It creates an environment where both people feel valued, understood, and free to be themselves. When love is rooted in mutual respect, it becomes more than just a relationship. It becomes a partnership built on trust, equality, and shared growth. And that's the kind of love that stands the test of time. Love teaches you to embrace uncertainty. If there's one thing love guarantees, it's that there are no guarantees. Love, no matter how strong or secure, is inherently unpredictable. You don't know where it will take you, how it will evolve, or whether it will last forever. This uncertainty can be terrifying, especially when your heart is on the line. But love's greatest lesson is that embracing uncertainty isn't a weakness. It's a strength. It's an act of faith, not just in the other person, but in yourself and the process of life. The Stoics often reflected on the nature of uncertainty and impermanence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In the context of love, this means accepting that you can't control everything, your partner's feelings, the future of the relationship, or even the circumstances life throws your way. What you can control is how you show up, with honesty, courage, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. Think about it. How many times have you let fear of the future sabotage something good in the present? Maybe you've held back from fully committing because you were afraid of getting hurt. Or maybe you've tried to control the relationship, clinging tightly to avoid the risk of loss. But the truth is, love isn't about eliminating uncertainty. It's about learning to live with it. Uncertainty isn't the enemy of love. It's what makes it alive, dynamic, and real. Embracing uncertainty in love doesn't mean you stop caring about the outcome. It means you stop letting the fear of the unknown dictate your actions. Instead of worrying about where the relationship is headed, focus on what it is right now. Are you growing together? Are you creating meaningful moments? Are you showing up authentically? These are the questions that matter, not whether you can predict the future. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." In love, freedom comes when you let go of the need to control every outcome and instead trust in the natural flow of the relationship. This trust doesn't mean blind optimism. It means accepting that love, like life, is a journey with no guarantees. It's about finding joy in the unfolding, even when you don't know where it will lead. But let's be honest, embracing uncertainty isn't easy. It requires vulnerability, patience, and a willingness to sit with discomfort. It asks you to step into the unknown with an open heart, knowing that love might bring both joy and pain. And yet, it's this very act of surrender that makes love so transformative. When you let go of the need for certainty, you make space for growth, connection, and the unexpected beauty of the present moment. So how do you practice embracing uncertainty in love? Start by shifting your mindset. Instead of seeing uncertainty as a threat, view it as an opportunity to grow. Remind yourself that the best things in life often come from the unexpected. Next, focus on presence. When your mind drifts to what-ifs, gently bring it back to what's happening right now. Lastly, cultivate trust, not just in your partner, but in yourself. Trust that no matter what happens, you'll have the strength to handle it. Love without uncertainty isn't love, it's control. It's the willingness to step into the unknown, hand in hand, that makes love an adventure. By embracing uncertainty, you not only deepen your connection, but also discover the courage and resilience that love has always been meant to teach. Love teaches you the importance of gratitude. In the whirlwind of daily life, it's easy to take love for granted. The sweet moments that once made your heart flutter can fade into the background, replaced by routines, responsibilities, and the occasional conflict. But love, like any precious gift, thrives on appreciation. Gratitude is what keeps love alive. It's the act of recognizing and cherishing what you have, even when it's imperfect. And perhaps the most beautiful lesson love can teach is that gratitude isn't just about the big gestures or milestone moments. It's about finding joy in the everyday presence of another person. The Stoics believed deeply in the practice of gratitude as a way to ground oneself in the present. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." This mindset applies to relationships too. Every day with someone you love is an opportunity to appreciate their existence in your life, their quirks, their kindness, their laughter, even their flaws. Gratitude doesn't blind you to the challenges of love, but it helps you see the beauty alongside the difficulty. Think about your own relationships. How often do you pause to reflect on what you love about your partner or what they bring to your life? It's easy to fall into patterns of focusing on what's missing, what's frustrating, or what could be better. But gratitude shifts your perspective. Instead of dwelling on imperfections, it reminds you to celebrate the things that make your relationship special. A simple thank you for the little things, a shared meal, a comforting hug, or a kind word, can go a long way in strengthening your connection. Gratitude isn't just about expressing appreciation to your partner, it's also about cultivating it within yourself. It's taking time to reflect on why you value the relationship and how it enriches your life. When you practice gratitude, you anchor yourself in the positive aspects of love, which can make navigating challenges easier. Instead of approaching conflicts with frustration or resentment, you're more likely to come from a place of understanding and respect. Gratitude softens your heart and strengthens your commitment even in tough times. But let's be real, practicing gratitude consistently can be hard, especially when life gets stressful or love feels complicated. When you're in the middle of an argument, it's hard to think about what you're thankful for. When things feel routine or stagnant, gratitude can feel like an afterthought. And yet, those are the moments when it matters most. Gratitude is a choice, not a reaction. It's something you cultivate deliberately, even when it doesn't come naturally. Love and gratitude go hand in hand. When you practice gratitude, you nurture the connection between you and your partner, creating a relationship that feels vibrant, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. And in that space of appreciation, love truly flourishes. Love, huh? It's a journey, a challenge, and a mirror all rolled into one. It's taught us about patience, letting go, and showing up. Messy, imperfect, but real. But here's the kicker. The lessons don't stop. Love keeps evolving, and so do we. It's not about mastering it. It's about learning, one heartfelt, sometimes heart-wrenching moment at a time. Now, let's turn the spotlight to you. What's your biggest takeaway about love? Is there a lesson you've learned the hard way? Or maybe one you're still trying to figure out? Your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Drop it in the comments. Let's build a space where we can grow together, because love isn't just something we do, it's something we share. And hey, if this resonated, there's a whole world of more thoughts, insights, and conversations waiting for you. Hit that like button if this gave you even a flicker of a fresh perspective. And if you're sitting there nodding like, yep, I needed this, go ahead and subscribe. Join this community of thinkers, feelers, and those of us just trying to navigate this wild ride of connection. Oh, and one last thing. Don't keep this to yourself. Share this with someone you think could use a reminder about what love really means. Whether it's a friend going through heartbreak, a couple figuring things out, or someone who just gets it. Let's spread these lessons far and wide. The next chapter, it's already being written. Let's make sure we're writing it together. Stay curious, stay connected, and as always, stay true to love in all its complicated, beautiful forms. See you in the comments. Love teaches you that giving and receiving are equally important. Love, at its most profound, is an exchange, a dance of giving and receiving. And yet, so often, we find ourselves leaning too heavily in one direction. Some of us give endlessly, pouring our energy into our partner without ever asking for anything in return, believing that love means sacrifice. Others struggle to receive, putting up walls or feeling unworthy of the affection and care offered to us. But true love is a balance. It teaches us that giving and receiving are not opposites. They're two sides of the same coin, and both are essential for a healthy, thriving relationship. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly." In love, this wisdom applies to understanding your own needs and boundaries. Giving is an act of generosity, yes, but it should come from a place of abundance, not depletion. When you give without considering your own well-being, it can lead to resentment, burnout, and a feeling of being taken for granted. Love asks you to give freely, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to support and uplift your partner. Love is at its strongest when giving and receiving flow freely, without expectation or hesitation. It's in this exchange that love becomes more than an emotion. It becomes a way of being, a shared energy that lifts you both. In balancing these acts, you discover the truest essence of love, a partnership where both hearts are equally full.